Hi, Ms. Davis. This is Gary Eve with my final presentation and my PowerPoint on air preheater for your class. As you can see, I invited my family and friends to be with me as I present this presentation this evening. They are here to witness my presentation, and I thank them for coming. And this preheater presentation that I'm presenting today is for my class at Washington State Community College. And an preheater is a very, very significant part of what we do on our job. Our preheater is one of the body functions that we have in our carbon black business. And to me, I liken it to the heartbeat of what we do. As to our hearts and our bodies, they're very instrumental. Now, there are some other things in our production line that we could take out that would allow us to continue to function well and produce carbon black. Just like in our own physical anatomies, there are some things that we can live without and still continue to live and have life. You know, if you amputate your legs or if you lose your sight or your hearing, those type of things, but you can still live. And so is it with the preheater here, that it is the heartbeat of what we do. This piece of equipment is a very delicate piece of equipment, and this is what it looks like. And this is an 800C preheater on one of our furnaces units out at the plant. It holds up temperatures as high as 1470 degrees. And this piece of equipment right here, it makes or breaks our business for production. As you can see here, these are some critical areas of our preheaters, and the process air and the internal logging. All of these things are instrumental as to how much airflow comes in and out, meaning that you all aren't really familiar with what I'm talking about. I'll give you a definition. For our preheater is just a general term to describe any device designed to preheat air going in. Basically what this piece of equipment does, it takes in cool air and turns it into hot air. And that hot air is it's important for us to be able to have everything heated up to a certain temperature. And as I said, this particular air preheater design, the 800C air preheater, is equipped to go about 1470 degrees max. But we try to run it around 1400 degrees. This is what the actual air preheater looks like from the outside. The inside, you see here, there are numbers of tubes inside of here. And each of these tubes functions. They go up and they go down, and they work just like the heart does, and then pumping blood in and out of our arteries and our vessels and our veins. That's what this preheater does. It goes up and down. But if you can see in this slide over here, this particular slide here, you see some of the piping, they're sticking out. And basically what has happened in those piping is that those piping and those tubes have become plugged. And just like our arteries in our heart, if they become plugged, now they got to work extra hard. And when they start working extra hard, they start expanding further than they normally supposed to. And then when that happens, then the corrosion of our carbon black buildup from our furnace, that we injected air and gas and oil through our furnace, goes up through these tubes, and the air is circulating around in those tubes, and the hot air begins to expand. But when these tubes are becoming foul, as with our arteries, when the arteries and the heart become clogged up, they don't work as effectively and as efficient. And that's what we're trying to get to and establish today. How the efficiency of this preheater affects our bottom line in our facility. It allows us to be able to either lose money or make money the way it's designed. Our company spends in essence of $1 million every 2 weeks on shipments of oil. And on those shipments of oil, they're basically saying that if this piece of equipment, this preheater, this heat exchanger is going to be able to work in its proper way, we should be able to maximize a yield or production rate of X amount of dollars on our return for that investment on all the natural gas that we have in here. But one of the things that this thing has to be able to do, we have to be able to control the temperature on it, because if it overheats, it'll burn out, or if it's not hot enough, then it'll begin to plug. And usually what happens when this starts to plug is that we don't get the amount of efficiency through the tubes that we're supposed to get. And then this is what begins to happen, because if the efficiency doesn't come, then you get what you call tube burnout and tube failure. See, this tube has burned out because some of the carbon product has been left in it, and because of the temperatures on these furnaces up to 1400 degrees, that product that we make, carbon black, it sits inside of those tubes and it just burns. And after a period of time, it burns out and this fails. But prior to this failing like this, what happens is that the tubing becomes clogged. Now we can clean them out. We can flush them out with special tube and water pressuring, just like your heart ventricles and things could be flushed out. You can go in and have what they put stems and different things in your heart to open them up. And that's basically what we do with the tube. But after a certain period of time, and when these things aren't cleaned out enough, then what happens is they begin to fail. And as you can see also in this particular slide, the failing and the erosion on the inside of the tubes affect what we do significantly. Now, in the next slide here, basically iterating this. Now, the one thing and the one place that we have found to be able to affect this is on our initial startup of our units. And oftentimes starting up, we're trying to control the temperature, but what the temperature does, it goes spikes high, and what it does is you allow water flow through what we call quenches. We quench this reactor with water. So you put the water in there, but sometimes too much water goes in, and too much water goes in the reactor in the furnace, through the furnace, and what happens is this is when the particle become very sticky. And these particles become sticky because on the initial startup of the units, there's too much buildup inside of these tubes. And then that's when the tubes begin to foul and burn out. And then you would have to reduce the rates on the furnace unit to control that. And once the carbon tubes are burned out, and once they have expanded themselves, as I stated before, then this piece of equipment becomes in jeopardy of not functioning right. And that one piece of equipment, that hamper heater, that heat exchanger, in and of itself is over $1 million. So that one piece of equipment is very, very important, and that's my job as a process technician. I sit in the control room, and that's my job, to be able to watch and monitor that temperature and make sure that it doesn't get out of control, because we control this by water quench pressure, and that is very significant that we watch that at all time on startup and even through the process of that amper heater functioning. And once again, when the smoke outlet temperature is stabilized, then we can begin to raise our air temperatures. And and our air temperature comes through those reactors as much as 450, sometimes 600,000 cubic feet per square inch of pressure that is coming through, which is a lot of volume of air that is coming through those chambers in that furnace and through that amper heat at one time. Now this is really where we want to get to, because when we dealing with this amper heater, my main reason and focus was, how does these amper heaters, when they're not functioning properly, affect our bottom line and our cost at our plant? Well, this is a cost illustration of if it just loses 50 degrees. If this furnace loses 50 degrees and they're paying all of these monies, the oil costs at $299 per barrel, and you have the gas that they're paying for, the oil costs, and then you have all of the costs of trying to produce this thing. Well, basically, in a nutshell, if you're running at 1350 degrees and you lose 50 degrees on that, the company just lost basically a million, almost $2 million. And then here, if the temperature, and this is not running, this is running below the 1400 degrees that I told you about, they'll lose almost $2 million. And here, if they come below from 1350 to 1300, then you'll be losing almost $3 million. So you can see how important this piece of equipment is to our company. And that's not counting all of the costs that the paper bags, the rail cars, and all these things that our product goes into, and the other elements that we put into our system to make this work. So this piece of equipment is very, very, very significant. Now you may ask yourself, how does it really work? Well, you can liken this to a kitchen or bathroom extractor fan. And it's designed to suck out hot air and moisture into the atmosphere. And then what it does is it exchanges the hot for the cold. And long as that is continuing to do that and do it in a more efficient way, in an effective way, then we'll be able to produce much yield. Perhaps if these numbers were running where they're supposed to run, then this would probably be, and this is just on one unit. We have 4 units in our plant. So these numbers can either be turned around to profit gain for the company if we're running here and running more efficient. So our profit gain and our profit sharing from just this one unit could be well in excess in a year's time, just $4 to $5 million on one of those units in our company. So we have to keep a close watch on that. This piece of equipment is very, very significant, and also this heat exchanger, as well as on all of our other units, are all different. And we can see that here in this chart, in the graph, that we have different grades that we make, and on every grade that we make, the air rate is different, the temperature going in is different, the effectiveness of the product and the way we make it is all different. So what I showed you on the 800 amp heater for our, what we call our Unit 2 furnace system is different from our Unit 3, 4, and 5. So they all are very different, and they all are very common in what we do, but the outcome is still the same. If that amp heat doesn't if it doesn't produce efficiently, and if it doesn't produce effectively as we would like it to, then it would become just like our hearts. They'll clog up, they'll fail, they won't function at their strongest capacity, just like us when we having heart issues because of blocked artery, plaque get into our ventricles, they get into our vessels and veins, then everything slows down. And when things slows down, then that's not good, because now you got to use more air, you got to use more oil, and you got to use more natural gas to try to make the product. And once you do that, then this is where that bottom line in the previous slide comes into play, when the company begins to lose the money. So what we have to do is always make sure that we're keeping this thing functioning well beyond its capacity to be efficient and effective. So therefore, it is, like I said, it's my job to be able to make sure that this happens. And we can see here on the curve with many of our yields in this slide, how the impact of it at maximum temperature rate of almost 1500 degrees. Because like I say, that particular apple heater, it is designed for 1470 degrees. But the more closer we run it to the 1500 degree mark, as you can see, the more yield you'll get for your product up here in this illustration. So that's the revenue level right here that we want to always achieve. That's the ultimate goal. And all of this is done by how much water quenching that we allow to go into this furnace. And then what I mean about water quenching is it's little droplets of water, or large droplets of water particles that goes into the particle sizes of the carbon black that we make at our plant. If these water droplets supersede the particle size, then those water droplets, they don't burn off. What they do is they just basically cling inside of those pipes, and like I said initially, they cause all of these particles to begin to stick, and then that's when the fouling occurs.